Welcome everybody, my name is Jackson from Let's Learn Languages, and these are the 7 things you should and shouldn't do when you learn a language. Number 1. Do study every day for a little bit. Don't schedule one big study session every once in a while. I'm sure you guys remember cramming for a big test the following day. It's never fun, and you never actually end up learning that much. I mean, sure, you do what you gotta do and you memorize the information for the next day, but how much of that stuff do you actually remember today? Everything that I crammed for went into short-term memory and never into long-term memory. Last year, I entered a research lab for the first time, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty overwhelming. There was a lot of jargon and terminology that I had no idea what they meant. But after I'd been there for an extended period of time, I started slowly learning the different words and what they meant. And now I could tell you where mclip1 co-localizes in a cell. The point being, with repetitive, consistent practice, you will be able to better internalize the information, not just memorize it. AKA, you learn a lot more learning a little bit every day than one big study session every week. This has been supported by multiple studies, but the one that I will use as an example is one conducted by Badley and Longman in 1978. These researchers separated typists into 2 groups, one that would practice 1 hour per day, every day, and the other would practice 2 hours every other day. After a period of 60 days, they found that the former group were faster and more accurate typers than the latter group, even though their total practice time was identical. The same principle can be applied for language learning, which is why it's so important for a language learner to study every single day, even if it is for only 2 minutes on Duolingo or listening to a song in that language. It helps so much more than you realize. Number 2. Do study every aspect of learning a language. Don't only study one. And to be clear, most people agree that there are about 4 to 7 different skills in terms of learning a language. The 4 most basic skills are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And some people argue that there are up to 3 more, which are watching, grammar, and vocabulary. One of the biggest problems I have about how languages are taught in schools is that they don't cover the 4 most basic language skills that you need. They drill you in grammar, and some language courses are even taught in your target language. But most of them never actually get you to practice your speaking. And this is unfortunate because once they try to take their language out into the real world, they realize that they have a very, very difficult time communicating with other people. Sure, they can listen very well and understand very well, but trying to get their point across is incredibly difficult for them. In order for you to become a well-rounded language learner, it is absolutely vital for you to practice the 4 basic skills of learning a language, and it definitely couldn't hurt to practice the other 3 skills as well. A tip that could prove useful is to take a look at your 7 language skills and determine which one is the weakest, and then specifically focus on that one every day. Number 3. Do try a variety of different strategies to figure out which one works best for you. Don't take a single opinion on the internet and run with it. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there is no one-size-fits-all strategy for learning a language. What works for some people might not work for other people because everybody is different. For example, I cannot use textbooks. I find them incredibly boring. So what I do is I have natives, when I converse with them, correct my grammar when I make a mistake. And I know that this strategy also won't work for other people because they're a little bit more sensitive than I am and they don't take to criticism as well as I do. So they would have to go about it differently, such as asking natives how to say certain things in their target language. What I'm trying to say is that there is no one single strategy that will work for every single person, except moving to a country that speaks your target language. And even then, I know some people who have lived in the States for years, like 5 years, and they still could not hold a basic conversation in English. So it's really a toss-up. Anyways, it's important to try out many different strategies for learning a language and figure out which one works best for you. Number 4. Do be invested in the language. Don't learn it just because you should. Have you ever thought about learning how to code? I mean, it's probably pretty useful considering where society is headed. I mean, you'd basically never be unemployed. But have you learned to code on your own? The answer's probably no, but why? Well, it's probably because you have zero interest in coding. And the same thing works for language learning. Now, suppose you live in the United States. You think to yourself, wow, I should probably learn Spanish because of the amount of people who speak Spanish here. And then you go on trying to learn Spanish. But you soon realize that it will always be an uphill battle because you don't have any interest in learning Spanish. If you have zero interest in something, it's going to be a chore, and who would want to do a chore when they could just not? Nobody would do that. So what if we took this individual and we had them be a little bit more successful by just slightly changing their mindset? Maybe this individual could find Spanish music that they enjoy, or maybe they could find a friend who speaks Spanish. They could travel to a country that speaks Spanish. They could even put Spanish on their resume so that they're forced to learn it in order to apply to the next job and have their resume be correct. Point being, in order to learn a language, you must be connected to the language some way. You must have passion to learn the language. Otherwise, it will be a very long and arduous journey for you. Number 5. Do make learning a language as fun as possible. Don't make learning a language a chore. Okay, so this one is very similar to the last point, but it also is incredibly important, so I should probably talk about it. You need to make the language fun for you. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. Like I said earlier, nobody wants to do a chore that they don't have to do. You never see people wandering around digging holes and then filling them back up. That doesn't make any sense. So you need to make learning a language fun for you, and this could be done in a variety of different ways. You could, for example, watch TV, listen to music, talk to people in their native language. You could learn about culture. You could learn fun words. I love learning words that are really fun or funny to say in my target language. Basically, there are many, many different ways to learn a language, and there are many, many different ways to make it fun for you. You just have to be a little bit creative. Number 6. Do learn at your own pace. Don't compare yourself to others. Obviously, the internet exists. That's how you're watching me, which means that it's very easy to find people who are very good at languages. But like most things on the internet, it's also very easy to find people who are fake or frauds. Less than half of the people in the world are bilingual. So if you know another language, you're already in the 50th percentile. 13% of people are trilingual. So if you do that once more, you're already in the 87th percentile. So don't think that everybody in the world is bilingual, because they're not. Literally, more often than not, you will find somebody who isn't bilingual rather than somebody who is bilingual. Don't get discouraged. You can do it. You have to surround yourself with people who motivate you. And don't get discouraged by that one guy on the internet who can say, hello, oh, you know insert language here. Ah, that's so cool. I know that language too. In like 15 different languages, but like that's it. That's the only thing he knows. Like, don't worry about that. You will get there. It just takes a little bit of time. Number 7. Do teach yourself a language. Don't teach yourself how to learn a language. I have noticed that this is a huge problem in the self-improvement community, and I hope it's not as big of a problem here. But what I see more often than not is people getting so caught up in, well, actually, let me just show you. Oh, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just watching a video. Oh, cool. What's it about? Oh, it's just this video explaining the 7 things you should and shouldn't do when learning a language. Oh, neat. I didn't know you were learning a language. How's that going for you? Well, I haven't actually started. I'm just figuring out the best way to go about it so I don't end up wasting my time. Oh, I suppose that makes sense. Oh, wow. Something urgent is coming up on my cellular device. I guess I should leave now. Bye. See ya. Oh, hey. Long time no see. What's going on? Nothing, man. Just still figuring out the best way to learn languages. Wouldn't you have made more progress just starting instead of figuring out the best way to start? I mean, we haven't seen each other in like 3 months. You could probably say basic words and phrases and understand basic words and phrases if you would have started studying 3 months ago. Wowee, I never thought about that. Maybe I should start studying right now. As you can see, so many people are so caught up in figuring out the best and most efficient way to learn a language that they never actually end up starting learning a language. And that begs the question, what are you doing here? Why aren't you going off and learning a language? Go get some flashcards, go learn some grammar, go talk to a native, go read. Do something. Stop looking at me and live your life, man. What are you doing? Anyway, I don't know how to transition from here. So, if you still made it this far, you shouldn't have. You should be off practicing your language. But if you have, I appreciate you sticking with me. I hope you guys have a great day tomorrow, and the rest of your days, really. So, good luck learning the language, and I'll be here if you need me. Much love. Ciao, ciao.